While you are reading this, a silent, microscopic army of anaerobic bacteria is actively liquefying the jawbones of 80% of our cats from the inside out, and the worst part is, they are suffering in absolute, evolutionary silence. Think about the last time you leaned close to your cat, expecting a sweet, gentle nuzzle, only to be hit by a wave of breath that smelled like rotting, putrid fish and decaying organic waste. You probably recoiled slightly, felt a sharp sting of guilt, and told yourself that you really need to start brushing their teeth. But then you pictured the impending claw-filled battle, the flying saliva, the sheer panic in your pet's eyes, and you quietly gave up. Let go of that guilt right now. You are not a bad pet parent, and you are certainly not alone. In fact, you are part of an overwhelming majority of cat owners who have been trapped in a cycle of impossible advice and hidden biological crises. My name is Katja Berger. I am a clinical feline health specialist, and today we are pulling back the curtain on a massive systemic failure in veterinary oral care. What if I told you that the tiny, useless plastic toothbrush you bought at the pet store is actually a relic of the past? What if I told you that by understanding a single brilliant loophole in feline physiology, you could dissolve rock-solid, calcified tartar from your cat's teeth without ever forcing their mouth open? It sounds like an impossible marketing promise. It is not. It is pure, hard molecular biology. We are going to explore how a simple, targeted natural compound, when ingested, enters your cat's bloodstream, systemic circulation, and salivary glands to physically rewrite the chemical composition of their saliva. We are going to look at how we can turn their own spit into a continuous, active, plaque-dissolving shield. The current standard of pet care is failing our animals. We are told to rub abrasive pastes onto the highly sensitive gums of an animal designed by nature to resist physical vulnerability. When that fails, we are told to buy hard, dry kibbles that are supposedly designed to scrape teeth clean. This is a highly dangerous, scientifically inaccurate myth that actually accelerates oral decay by leaving a sticky starch-based residue directly on the enamel. This video is your definitive clinical masterclass in feline oral health. We are going to completely dismantle the myths, expose the silent, painful destruction happening beneath your cat's gum line, and lay out a precise, stress-free, 30-day biochemical protocol. We will look at why standard treatments fail, how to bypass the physical struggle of brushing entirely, and how to safely utilize enzymatic and marine-based compounds without triggering hidden systemic illnesses like hyperthyroidism. Your cat cannot tell you when their mouth is on fire. They will eat, they will purr, and they will play, all while their own immune system is actively attacking their tooth roots. It is time to stop guessing, stop feeling guilty, and start using verified biological science to protect the animal that relies entirely on you for their survival. Grab a pen, clear your mind of the marketing noise, and let's uncover the silent crisis hiding right behind your cat's lips. When we talk about feline dental disease, we are not talking about a cosmetic blemish or a slight case of unpleasant breath. We are talking about a systemic, progressive, biological emergency that is slowly and methodically poisoning your cat's entire body. Let's look at what is actually happening when you notice those first, seemingly harmless signs. Maybe your cat has started dropping dry kibble out of their mouth. Maybe they lick their chops repeatedly after eating, or they prefer to chew on only one side of their mouth. Perhaps you've noticed them pawing at their face, or they've suddenly lost interest in their favorite wet food, walking away from the bowl with a strange, subtle shake of their head. To the untrained eye, these are easy to dismiss as quirky behaviors, or maybe just a sign that your cat is getting older and a bit more selective. But in my clinical practice, when an owner tells me, Katya, my cat is just a picky eater lately. My heart sinks, because I know exactly what is happening beneath the surface. To understand the sheer scale of this problem, we must look at the cold, hard epidemiological data. Clinical studies consistently demonstrate that by age 3, more than 80% of cats exhibit active, painful periodontal disease. By the time they reach 5 or 6 years of age, that number climbs to an astonishing 75% for severe destructive oral lesions. This is not a rare vulnerability. It is an absolute epidemic. Let's dissect the hidden destructive processes happening inside that mouth at a cellular level. It all starts with a micro-thin, sticky film called plaque, which is a living, breathing colony of billions of aerobic and anaerobic bacteria. If this film is not disrupted within 48 hours, the calcium and phosphorus minerals naturally present in your cat's saliva bind to the plaque. It undergoes a rapid chemical crystallization, turning into a rock-hard, cement-like substance called calculus, or tartar. Once tartar forms, it creates a porous, jagged scaffolding that allows even more bacteria to latch on. The bacterial colony quickly migrates downward, slipping underneath the protective collar of the gum line. This is the exact moment the active nightmare begins. Inside the dark, warm, oxygen-deprived pocket between the tooth and the gum, anaerobic bacteria thrive. They begin releasing toxic byproducts, volatile sulfur compounds, and destructive enzymes that literally digest the delicate periodontal ligament. The microscopic shock, absorbing fibers, holding the tooth securely inside the jawbone. In response, your cat's immune system triggers a massive localized inflammatory response. White blood cells swarm the area, releasing inflammatory cytokines. But because the rock-hard tartar cannot be easily destroyed by immune cells, this inflammatory cycle never shuts off. It becomes chronic. The gums swell, turn a fiery, angry red, and bleed at the slightest touch. The bone of the socket begins to recede, pulling away from the infected tooth in a desperate attempt to protect itself. Stages of feline tooth resorption, Istochnik, the Animal Medical Center. But the true biological horror unique to felines is a condition known as feline odontoclastic resorptive lesions, or FORLs. Unlike human cavities, which are caused by bacterial acids eating the tooth from the outside in, FORLs are an autodestructive autoimmune failure for reasons we are still mapping clinically. Your cat's own body reactivates specialized cells called odontoclasts. In a healthy developing kitten, these cells are designed to dissolve the roots of baby teeth so adult teeth can grow. But in adult cats, these cells go completely haywire. They target the permanent, adult teeth, releasing acids and enzymes that eat away the hard protective cementum and the underlying dense dentin of the tooth root, as you can see in the clinical diagram of resorptive stages. This internal erosion starts silently beneath the gum line. In stage 1, the microscopic destruction is completely hidden. By stage 2, the erosion tunnels through the dentin, creeping closer to the pulp cavity. By the time it reaches stage 3, the tooth's living, breathing core, the pulp cavity filled with highly sensitive nerve endings and active blood vessels, is fully breached and exposed to the open environment of the mouth. Imagine the agonizing pain of a deep, open nerve exposure. Now imagine your cat trying to bite down on a hard piece of kibble, applying dozens of pounds of pressure directly onto that exposed, raw nerve. It is an excruciating, blinding flash of pain. Yet, because of their evolutionary wiring as both predators and small prey, your cat will swallow that food whole, look you dead in the eye, and purr to hide their vulnerability as the disease reaches stage 4. The structural integrity of the tooth is so completely compromised that the crown, the visible part of the tooth, literally snaps off during chewing, leaving a jagged, raw, infected root tip permanently trapped inside the inflamed jawbone. The gums then grow over this rotting root, sealing the active infection inside the bone. But the danger is not confined to the mouth. This is the hidden threat that most pet owners completely miss. Thus, blood vessels supplying your cat's teeth are a direct, high-speed highway to their vital organs. Every single time your cat chews, swallows, or groom themselves, millions of highly pathogenic bacteria from those inflamed gums are forced directly into their bloodstream. This is a state of chronic bacteremia. These bacteria travel through systemic circulation, landing directly in the ultrafine, microscopic filtering systems of the kidneys, the liver, and the delicate valves of the heart. Over months and years, this constant, daily bacterial bombardment causes microabscesses, leading to irreversible chronic kidney disease, interstitial nephritis, and infectious endocarditis. You think your cat is just slowing down because they are getting older. In reality, their kidneys are slowly failing, and their heart is working double time to fight off a silent, systemic infection that started right under their nose. This is the terrifying reality of feline dental neglect, and it is happening in 3 out of 4 cats right now. Let's address the elephant in the living room. Why do the standard methods pushed by pet stores, commercial brands, and standard online blogs fail so spectacularly? We are told by marketing campaigns that keeping a cat's mouth clean is easy. Just buy a bag of crunchy kibble, throw in a couple of supermarket dental treats, and if you're feeling guilty, wrestle your cat with a tiny plastic toothbrush once a week. This advice is not just ineffective. It is medically and biologically counterproductive, and 99% of well-meaning pet owners make these critical mistakes every single day. First, let's completely destroy the industry myth that standard dry kibble cleans a cat's teeth. This is a massive multi-billion-dollar marketing lie. Consider the basics is anatomy and physiology of a feline. Cats are obligate carnivores. Their teeth are not designed like human teeth. They do not have flat, occlusal surfaces for grinding and chewing. Instead, their teeth are highly specialized, sharp, vertical shears designed to rip, tear, and slice through raw meat and bone. When a cat bites down on a piece of standard commercial kibble, they are not grinding it. The kibble is extremely brittle. The moment the tip of the cat's sharp tooth makes contact with the outer shell, the kibble instantly shatters. It crumbles into a fine, dusty powder long before the tooth can penetrate deeply enough for the kibble to scrape against the gum line. It gets worse. To hold those dry kibble shapes together, manufacturers must use massive amounts of starch and simple carbohydrates. When this dry carbohydrate dust mixes with your cat's saliva, it forms a sticky, sugary paste. This paste gets trapped in the deep grooves of the teeth and along the gingival margin, instead of cleaning the teeth. You are quite literally hand-delivering an easily fermentable buffet of simple sugars directly to the pathogenic bacteria living in your cat's mouth. You are accelerating the formation of soft plaque, which quickly hardens into cemented tartar. The second major point of failure is the physical act of brushing. Yes, in a perfect world, daily brushing is the gold standard. But we do not live in a perfect textbook world. We live with real cats. When you attempt to force a toothbrush into your cat's mouth, you are fighting millions of years of predatory survival instincts. A cat's mouth is an incredibly sensitive, highly guarded area of their body. When they feel pain from underlying, hidden gingivitis or a developing resorptive lesion, your attempt to rub a plastic brush against that raw tissue is agonizing. Severe gingivitis and plaque accumulation, Istochnik. Apex veterinary specialists, they do not understand you are trying to help. They only experience a sudden terrifying violation of their boundaries, accompanied by physical pain. They fight back. They escape. They hide under the couch. What has actually been accomplished here? You have severely damaged the bond of trust between you and your pet. Now, your cat is hypervigilant, viewing your physical approach with suspicion and anxiety. The stress of these repeated battles triggers a chronic release of cortisol and adrenaline, which suppresses their immune system and makes them even more vulnerable to the very infections you are trying to treat. And because the process is so stressful for both of you, you inevitably stop doing it regularly. A monthly or weekly brushing session is biologically useless. It takes only 48 hours for soft plaque to mineralize into rock-hard calculus. If you are not disrupting the biofilm daily, your occasional traumatic brushing attempts are doing absolutely nothing to prevent the progression of periodontal disease. Finally, let's look at the hidden chemical traps in standard commercial dental products. Many of the dental water additives, gels, and foams sold in local pet stores contain a cocktail of harsh synthetic chemicals, artificial colorings, and preservatives. One of the most common ingredients is chlorhexidine, a powerful antiseptic. While chlorhexidine is highly effective at killing bacteria, it has a very bitter, medicinal taste. Cats have an incredibly sophisticated sense of taste and smell. If they detect even a microscopic trace of a chemical odor in their water bowl, their survival instinct screams that the water source is contaminated or poisoned. They will simply stop drinking. In a species descended from desert wildcats, which already have a low thirst drive and highly concentrated urine, any reduction in daily water intake is catastrophic. It leads directly to dehydration, crystal formation, painful urinary tract blockages, and acute kidney injury by trying to fix their bad breath with a cheap chemical water additive. You could inadvertently trigger a life-threatening urinary blockage or accelerate chronic kidney failure. We must stop relying on these crude, forceful, and biochemically flawed methods. To truly save your cat's teeth and protect their internal organs, we have to work with their biology, not against it. Now let's talk about solutions that actually work. We are going to build a highly targeted, scientifically grounded, 30-day oral restoration protocol. It relies entirely on working with your cat's natural metabolic pathways, chemical saliva alterations, and instinctive behavioral traits. If we are completely abandoning the physical force of a toothbrush, we must replace it with a system of passive and active biological hacks. This protocol takes less than 30 seconds of your day, but its success relies on absolute daily consistency. The cornerstone of this entire protocol is the systemic alteration of your cat's saliva. To achieve this, we use a highly specific marine-based compound called Ascophyllum nodosum. Ascophyllum nodosum, the systemic plaque eraser. Istochnik. Wikipedia. Ascophyllum nodosum is a unique species of brown kelp harvested from cold, pristine North Atlantic waters. When your cat digests this specific kelp, its active sulfur-containing polysaccharides and bioactive compounds are absorbed through the intestinal wall directly into the bloodstream. These compounds circulate systemically and are secreted by the salivary glands. Once in the mouth, this modified, kelp-infused saliva actively interferes with the bacterial biofilm's ability to bind to the tooth enamel. It chemically breaks down the sticky polymeric matrix that keeps plaque glued to the teeth. Over 3 to 6 weeks, it physically softens even the hardest, oldest, calcified calculus deposits. The tartar becomes fragile and porous, eventually cracking and sloughing off during normal eating. Here is your exact dosage and administration guideline. Daily dosage: 1/12 of a teaspoon, approximately 330 milligrams, for an average 10-pound cat Administration. Sprinkle this fine green powder directly onto your cat's wet food. If your cat is highly sensitive to smells, start with a microscopic pinch, less than the size of a sesame seed, and gradually scale up to the full dose over 10 days. The natural, mild ocean scent is highly palatable to most cats once they adapt. The crucial thyroid warning. Because Ascophyllum nodosum is a marine kelp, it is naturally highly rich in iodine. Iodine is the raw substrate used by the thyroid gland to synthesize thyroid hormones. If you have a senior cat over 10 years of age, or a cat officially diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, you must not use kelp. For senior or hyperthyroid cats, your alternative clinical weapon is a topically applied, iodine-free enzymatic gel containing glucose oxidase and lactoperoxidase. You do not need to brush with it. Simply apply a tiny pea-sized dab of this sweet-tasting gel to your finger and smear it gently onto your cat's outer gums or lips. Their natural licking reflex will spread the enzymes across their teeth, where they will actively generate microscopic amounts of hydrogen peroxide on contact, vaporizing the oral bacterial colony. The second tier of our protocol is the active water biofilm hack. We use a vet-approved, premium enzymatic water additive containing zinc gluconate and natural enzymes like lysozyme. Every single time your cat drinks water, this additive washes over their teeth, cleaving the biochemical bonds of the newly forming soft plaque film before it can mineralize. Dosage. Add exactly 1 capful, or 5 milliliters, of the additive per 8 ounces of fresh water. Proprot. Ensure the water additive is completely colorless, odorless, and tasteless to guarantee your cat's hydration habits remain entirely unchanged. To complete the protocol, we must introduce a physical-mechanical mechanism to safely scrape away the softened tartar. Since we are not using a plastic brush, we will let your cat do the physical scrubbing themselves using natural silvervine sticks. Silvervine, nature's floss and cognitive stimulant, is Stochnik. eBay UK, Silvervine, Actinidia polygama, is a non-toxic climbing plant native to the mountainous regions of Eastern Asia. It contains 2 active chemical attractants, actinidine and dihydroactinideolide, that trigger a deeply euphoric, playful response in approximately 80% of cats, even those completely indifferent to standard catnip. How it works. When you present a raw, dried silvervine bark stick to your cat, they will grab it, rub their cheeks against it, and instinctively chew on the wood with their back premolars and molars. The mechanical action, as they gnaw, the woody plant fibers splay apart into a fine, dental floss-like matrix. This matrix physically sinks between the teeth, safely squeegeeing plaque and softened tartar from the crown and the delicate gingival sulcus. Action plan. Provide 1 silvervine stick 2 to 3 times a week for 15-minute supervised play sessions. Additionally, you can incorporate 5 to 10 daily dental treats carrying the official VOHC, Veterinary Oral Health Council, seal. These treats are formulated with a dense, non-crumbling fiber matrix that forces the tooth to sink deeply into the kibble, scraping the sides of the tooth clean prior to swallowing. Let's lay out your complete 30-day oral restoration blueprint. Time of day action active agent, tool duration frequency mornings metabolic saliva, alteration 1/12 teaspoon, Ascophyllum nodosum on wet food. Daily morning, day passive, biofilm, disruption enzymatic water, additive in bowl daily, with fresh water. Evening mechanical scavenging 510 VOHC approved dental treats daily night. Alt, behavioral, flossing dried silvervine. Stick play session 2-3 times per week. End clinical assessment the lip flip, visual check of back molars. Once weekly, if you execute this exact protocol with absolute consistency. Here is what you will observe over the next 30 days. Days 1 to 7, the volatile sulfur compounds in the mouth are neutralized. The putrid, rotting dumpster odor of your cat's breath disappears, replaced by a neutral, healthy scent. Days 8 to 14, the continuous enzymatic action of the water additive and the systemic saliva begins to cool down the fiery, bright red gingival margins. Gums begin transitioning back to a healthy, pale bubblegum pink, days 15 to 30. The thick yellow-brown crusts of calcified tartar on the back molars become soft and brittle. As your cat chews their silvervine sticks or VOHC treats, this softened tartar literally cracks, fractures, and safely drops off, exposing clean, white enamel beneath. You do not have to feel guilty anymore. You do not have to fight a losing, stressful war with a plastic brush that damages the bond of love and security you share with your pet. By shifting your approach from physical force to targeted biochemistry and natural behaviors, you can effortlessly protect their teeth, preserve their kidneys, and save their life. If this deep, clinical breakdown has opened your eyes and given you a real, actionable path forward, take a moment to hit that like button. Sharing this video helps bypass the corporate marketing noise and puts real scientific solutions into the hands of pet parents who need them most. Go take a gentle look under your cat's lip tonight, assess where they stand, and let's begin their 30-day transformation together.